FMTV.
Not many of us can boast of having on our CV the note that at one point you were thrown out of school. Well, I was raised in a village and had to run 4 miles every morning and 4 miles in the afternoon to get back home from school. And my first 6 years of education were out there in the village. I remember the last year of grade 6 when I was going to go into grade 7 that my headmaster, on one of those days when they have parents' days, called my parents into his office and announced to them that he was throwing me out of his school. It was a bit of a traumatic moment for me because I liked school and school liked me. My grades were good and I thought I was doing very well in class, and my parents couldn't follow why my headmaster was throwing me out of school. Well, when they protested that as far as they knew I was doing well, my headmaster said that was precisely the reason why he was throwing me out of his school. He felt that his school wasn't good enough for me to do my grade 7 in. And if I did my last year of primary school in his school, I would not be competitive enough to make it to secondary school. Therefore, he wanted me in a school, in an urban environment where I would be challenged beyond the level I was in the village in order for me to be able to make it to secondary school. That's how the following year I found myself in the city and found myself in a city school. It was traumatic. Living in the village was traumatic. You see, in the village, everybody knew me, and I kind of knew everybody. The kind of situation where you can walk around in the dark and not worry about anything because you know your way around the place. The village was a very comfortable place for me. It gave me identity. There were things in the village that were common practice. We had our values, we had things that we subscribed to. There were things that the village told me I could do, and there were things that the village told me I couldn't do. My headmaster felt differently. He felt that I needed to be removed from that environment. And when I initially left the village, I missed my friends. I missed the trees that I used to climb. The rivers that I used to cross. I missed being in the bush, looking after cattle and goats, feeding on some of the fruit that we used to feed on. Here I found myself in the city. Instead of playing with wire cars, the boys that I was now friends with played with knives. To make matters worse, it was during the days of James Bond 007. And I found myself going to movies and thinking that what James Bond could do on screen, I could do in real life. Well, things were really going the wrong direction because the lights were too bright for this village boy. But anyway, because I left the village and did my grade 7 in the city, I was able to go into secondary school. Out of a family of 7, I'm the only one who made it to secondary school and made it to university because I left the village. I'm eternally grateful to that headmaster who had the foresight to throw me out of his school and to force me to leave the village. Because if I hadn't left the village, I wouldn't be what I am today. Not only did I make it to secondary school and university and all of that, but I've been able to travel around the world. I've held responsibilities in different organizations that have exposed me to a much wider world than I would have experienced. My siblings never left the village, and therefore they never made it to secondary school. Let's ask this question. Have you left your village? Some of us are very comfortable where we are, in our family, in our work situations, in our environment. Our environment has prescribed to us. It's a village. Your village may not be a literal village like mine was. You may have been born in a township, you may have been born in a suburban area, and that may be your village. Your village is the place of comfort, your comfort zone, where your limits are defined and what you can and cannot do is defined by your environment. Unless you leave that village, you will never attain to your full potential. And my challenge to you this morning is, have you left your village? Or are you still stuck in your village? There's companies that are stuck in their village, in their villages. There's countries. Zimbabwe is a country that is stuck in its village, where we are told you cannot do certain things because you didn't fight the liberation war, for instance. Have you left your village?
FMTV.